Hello and welcome to the Out of the Sandbox video guide to the Turbo 2.0 Shopify theme homepage setup, now using the Shopify Sections interface. Today we're going to take a look at how you can go from a fresh install of the Turbo 2.0 theme and use the customized theme settings now on this Shopify Sections interface to create a homepage that looks just like this sole demo. So we're going to be using this sequence of sections here as our model to create a homepage that looks just like this one. But we won't stop there. We will also take a look at the few sections that are not included in this demo, but that you have access to when it comes to customizing your own homepage. But before we jump into the settings, let's go over to my Shopify admin panel here and see what we're already working with on the Shopify admin panel. So if I go here into products, you will see I already have a listing of products. These products have product images, some of them have variants, descriptions, tags, all of the various attributes that you would expect to see with a product. Additionally, these products have been categorized into a few collections. A couple of these collections we'll be using to display products on the homepage. Besides the products and collections, if we go here to Online Store, you'll see that we also have some blog posts. So these blog posts have titles, and they have content, and they have excerpts as well, and I'll show you why it's important for your blog post to have an excerpt when it comes to creating your homepage. Also a featured image over here for these blog posts. Besides blog posts, there's also a few pages. So these pages are created on the Shopify platform as well. And besides that, we have our navigation. So everything I've just showed you here, products, collections, blog posts, pages, and navigation, those are all parts of the Shopify platform. So if you needed any assistance in configuring these elements, then check out the Shopify documentation for all of the help that you'll need in that area. But today, this video is going to show you how we'll now use these things to configure the theme to create your homepage. So we will jump back into these various areas here to see how they apply to the homepage. But now let's jump over here to this themes panel. These are the themes that are on my Shopify admin panel right now, but I'm going to show you how you can install the theme from a fresh version here. To install the theme, you'll just head up here to Upload Theme, choose the file, and you can choose the zip file that you received in the email download link from when you purchased the theme through Out of the Sandbox. We'll go ahead and upload that, and here it is, uploading to my themes panel in an unpublished state, but we're going to go ahead and publish it right away so that all of my changes occur live and I can take a look and preview these changes. So I'm going to take a look here, view my online store using this link, and this is the default appearance of the Turbo 2.0 theme. So there's a few unconfigured sections already appearing, none of which have any correlation to the products or collections or data that I have on the shop. So those are the default sections that appear. And we can see these sections if we head over here to Customize Theme. And this is the new sections interface, well, new as of a few months ago. And on the right, we have a preview window, which will update live as we change the settings that appear here on the left. Now, a very important note, we're talking about the homepage today, so we're going to be taking a look at the homepage sections and the homepage settings that appear here on the left. But if you've come to this video looking for how to configure your product page or your collection page, I'll tell you now there's already a video about that, so I'm going to reference you to go watch that video. But it's important to remember to navigate to a collection page to change the settings to refer to the collection page section settings. Likewise, if you're looking for the product page settings, you have to navigate to a product in this preview window before the settings on the left here will change to the product page section settings. So that applies to the collection page, product page, and any special page templates. That said, there are indeed settings within these general settings that will apply to the product page and collection page. And again, check out the video about the product page and collection page to clear up any confusion you have about how to access all of the settings of the theme. Let's jump back to the home page here. But while I have this general settings tab open, let me show you some settings within the general settings that apply to the home page, particularly the colors and typography settings, which are a huge set of settings that apply to all of the colors and all of the typography across the site. So as you can see, very robust, many different options here, and you can go through and configure them all. Within the color settings, you'll also find settings associated with applying background images to various elements of the site. So for any backgrounds or color considerations, you can come in here to these color settings, and for any typography settings, so wherever you are looking to apply specific fonts, this is where that is configured. Now, instead of going through and configuring each one of these things individually, I'm going to scroll down here to change theme style. And you see we have these 2 theme styles, and they correspond with the 2 demos that we have published for the Turbo theme. You can check out Portland, which came out with version 1, and it's been updated to reflect all of the great new sections features with the version 2. But we're going to be copying the Soul demo. So I'm going to go ahead and change the theme style to Soul. And what this does is it changes groups of settings all at once. So it will change the color settings and the typography settings all at once to reflect the styles that were used in that particular demo. So since that's the one I'm using as my model, that's going to be my jumping off point, and I'm going to use that as my theme style. Now, my advice for you is to choose a theme style first before you go to configure any other settings. Because if you configure some settings and then you go to change the theme style, you will indeed override some of your settings decisions. So check out the demos, see which one is a good jumping off point for you, and then use that theme style first, then go in and edit the settings as you see fit. Besides the color and typography settings, within these general settings, we also have the search setting here, which applies to the search field that appears in the header. And it can search through all information, which would include the blog posts, page information, or it can search just through the product data, which would be the product information, tags, types, and titles. Besides the search, we also have the currency converter, which appears in this top bar above the header. It can be enabled and disabled here, along with some formatting decisions and your setting to choose which currencies you support. The newsletter sign-up that appears in the newsletter section and in the pop-up can be linked up with MailChimp through this setting, but we suggest that you now use the Shopify MailChimp app to make a synchronization between Shopify and MailChimp instead of using this setting. But it's still there for you if you'd like to use it. We've got these social media icons, which can appear in a few different places on the site. I'm just going to show you by entering some random text here. You would enter your full social media URLs into these fields to have these icons appear. But as you see, they're appearing here in the top bar, and we have support for all of these various social media outlets, including email. So there's the email icon at the end. Looking good. And so those are all of the general settings that will apply to the appearance of the home page that we're working on today. So let's flip over here to the section settings, where we have the sequence of sections. Before we jump into the body of the home page, let's start with the first common element that will appear on all pages of your site, which is the header. We've got this first setting here, the fixed sticky header. As I scroll, you see that my header reappears. So I've scrolled down the page. That's the fixed sticky header, so I can enable or disable that behavior. The search field that we were discussing can be enabled and disabled. I'm going to leave this search field enabled here, and I will explain this link that's appearing beside it in a moment. The top bar can feature some promotional banner text. This is a great place to put a free shipping message, over $50 or something to that effect. You'll see that as a common area for a free shipping message or a special promotional message on a shop. This is where you can enable and disable those social media icons from appearing. And then the cart that appears up here, if you're running a shop that might not be an e-commerce shop on Shopify, then you can just take the cart away there to remove access to the cart from the homepage. The ability of adding a phone number here to the top bar that appears beside the social media icons. And on mobile devices, it functions as an actual phone number as well. If you'd like, we can include a menu here in the top bar. So I've selected one of my menus that has 2 links, and those would go to the links that are set up in the navigation settings. And we can access those settings directly using this Edit Menu button. So it will jump us right over here to this menu. So we scroll down from there, we've got our cart icon, which I have removed. Let me re-enable the cart so that we can see that the cart icon can be a cart or a bag. Here are the logo settings. So to start showing you the logo settings, I'm going to implement a logo for this first logo setting. And I'm going to choose the logo from our demo. And there it shows in the header. Not only that, it will also show here as we squash the layout down to the mobile view. It's the same logo now appearing in the mobile view. And when we're on the regular desktop view, after we save our change and we scroll down the page, we'll see that the logo reappears in the sticky header. There it is. So these other 2 logo settings, this mobile logo is if you wanted to specify a different logo just for that mobile layout. But then this secondary logo, I'll show you why you might want to use it. Here in the general settings under colors, if we head down to background, we can disable the solid menu background color that appears when we first land on the home page. So as we remove that, we will see that the header now in a sense has a transparent background and it is appearing over this first section image. And this section image is rather dark, as is the logo, which makes it a little bit hard to see. But as we scroll down the page, we'll see the regular background color for the header appearing with the default logo, which is still a great appearance. So what can we do to potentially show an alternate logo in this position on the homepage? Well, as we're configuring the homepage, be sure to save these changes to make sure that they're all updating properly. I'm going to head back over into Sections, into Header, and take a look at this secondary logo option. And I'm going to upload a version of the logo that has white text instead of black. And that's how it appears over that first homepage image. And I'll save that change to show you that as we scroll down, the default behavior of showing the regular logo over the sticky header is maintained. All right, behind the scenes here, I'm just going to undo those changes to restore the header to make it look just like our model. I'll be back in one moment. And we're back. This next logo setting here is just to trim up the width of the logo to make the logo appear a little bit smaller. Now we've got our selection of menus here. So that's where that search link was coming from, is that's the only link in this footer menu, and it has been assigned as the secondary menu. And that menu appears right here beside the search field. So obviously not a good menu selection for that location. So as you see, we can choose 2 menus, and then with the next series of settings, we can choose how those menus appear in relation to the logo in the header. Now we have a video about configuring the header of the Turbo theme and the various options with these configurations. So check out that video for all of the different sort of combinations that work with this header. What I'm going to do is just mimic the Soul demo here, put the logo over to the left, put the menu in the center, remove the secondary menu, and keep everything in the same line here. So let's see which settings work with those ideas. Well, our logo position is going to want to be changed to left here. The alignment should also be left to correspond. The menu position could be in line with the logo or under. It is in line in our demo. And it is aligned to the center. So there's our menu appearing in the center. We also have a few settings here to control the amount of spacing between the top of the page and the logo or the main menu, as you see there. Before we leave the header, I'd like to show you how we have created this drop-down menu. So as you see, we've got a drop-down menu that appears as we hover over this shop link. So that's done in the navigation settings. So right here, we have the main menu selected as our main menu. Let's go into edit this menu and see that it contains a link called shop. The second step to creating the drop-down menu is also in navigation, you create a menu that corresponds with the name of the link. So as we've got this shop link here, we've created a shop menu, and that is fundamentally what creates the dropdown. Let's see what happens if I follow that same pattern again. So I'm going to use this link name, headphones, and create a new menu where the title of the menu follows that same name, and add a couple of demo links, and have those links direct to our favorite headphone products. You can save that menu, and I'm going to repeat that same process here for speakers. And as I save that menu, I can head back over to the Customize Theme settings here and refresh the window so the change to the menu will take effect. And then as I scroll over Shop, you'll see that the additional tier of the menu appears below the parent. So you can create a mega menu just like that by following the same naming convention for the name of your menu to follow the name of a link in a parent menu. Great. So those are the features of the header. Before we jump into the rest of the body of the homepage, let's scroll on down to the bottom and look at the other common element to the rest of the site, being the footer. So here's the footer appearing at the bottom of the homepage. Let's jump into these footer settings to see how it's configured. So the first few settings that we have here, some is for the copyright text, which appears down here. We can also enable and disable the theme designer credits. And if we had our payment gateway enabled, we would have payment icons appearing here in the subfooter area as well. But I don't have a payment gateway enabled. The rest of the footer here is configured using these content blocks. As you see, we have these content blocks with settings within them and the ability to add additional content blocks. Once the content blocks are added, they can be clicked and dragged to be reordered in the footer. You can see the effect that it's having here. So let's remove these elements from the footer and take a look at what these various content blocks are. So starting with a blank footer, let's add our first content block, and let's make it a logo. Here we can upload a separate logo. So this is not any of the previous logos that we've been discussing. So you can use a completely different logo here if you'd like, or you can use the same one. And then the alignment within the block itself can be reordered. And since we only have the one block, it's spanning the full width of the footer, and so the alignment can be changed as you see. The social media icons can be displayed in any content block of the footer. So you'll see this setting repeated throughout the content blocks. The next content block we can add here is a menu. And the menu reaches into our navigation settings and pulls up our various menus where we can select a menu to have it appear here. And again, since we just have the two content blocks, they're being displayed evenly across the layout. Just to jump back to this logo setting here, if we change the alignment now, it will be aligned but just within its own container. So that will apply as we continue to add content blocks to this footer. The alignment will still be relative to the smaller container in which the logo is being displayed. Again, the social media icons can be displayed at the bottom of that block. We have the ability of showing a block of page content here. We've got this special piece of page content to give some credit out to Bang & Olufsen, who have provided all of the imagery for this demo. We can add some text, which isn't quite like a page because the text is configured right here within the settings. This is where you would enter a title, and then you can use this text editor to add the text. Within this text editor and any other text editors like this that you see within the section settings, you can bold and italicize text. If you're looking to render text into a new paragraph, you can use the Enter key. And if you were looking to render text just onto the next line, then you can use Shift Enter. Some tips to using that text box. Besides text, we can add just an empty column, which would be a space like that. And then with these sections added, we can click and drag them to reorder them, as we've seen. So those are the various blocks and the way that they can be used. I'm going to reconfigure these blocks quickly to match our demo before we move on, just behind the scenes here, and I'll be right back. So there we have it. Following along with the model, we have a logo, 3 menus, and then a piece of page content where the social media icons are enabled to display below that piece of page content. So we've maxed out the footer at all 5 blocks. So we have a maximum of 5 blocks that can be used. So there is our fully configured footer. So those are the common elements of the site. The header and the footer are now configured. And now everything in between here is specific to the home page. So before we go in to look at the settings of each section individually, why don't we take a look at what our options of sections are? Before we do that, I would like to, instead of reconfiguring these existing sections and trying to reorder them and choose them to match our demo, I'm going to clear them all out and start from scratch and add these sections as they appear in our model. So I'm going to do that here behind the scenes, and I'll be right back to give you some advice on how to do this with your own shop. And so here we are where our header goes right into our footer, no other homepage content. So let's go to add a section and see what our options are of sections. So what I'm going to do here is just run through these sections, and as I select them, you will see a preview of the default appearance of the section in the preview window, so we can get a quick introduction into each of the homepage sections before we take a look at the design of our model. We've got blog posts, which can display posts from a blog. We've got a collection list, which is a listing of collection links, as opposed to a featured collection, which is a listing of product links that would go to product pages. We have these featured promotions, which are image links that have the ability of showing images with a title, a piece of descriptive text there as well. We've got this gallery, which are all images that when clicked will open in a lightbox. An image with text here, where all of these areas are configurable. An image with text overlay, also known as a banner, which is very similar to one slide of a slideshow. Got a logo list, a way of listing some logos from publications. Here's a slideshow very similar to the image with text overlay, but with the ability of shuffling between images. Featured products is a way of featuring a product with its details right on the homepage, with the ability of adding it to the cart. We've got our newsletter sign up, which appears as a banner like this. We've got the social feeds, which is a way of displaying Twitter and Instagram feeds right on your homepage. We have the ability of showing just a piece of page content that has been added to the Shopify platform. We have this rich text and image section where this area of text is edited within the settings itself. We have the customer testimonials area, which is very flexible. And then finally, this featured video. So my suggestion to help you design your homepage is really to do a mix of experimenting with these various sections, along with attempting to make a sequence of sections that you think best tells the story of your product. So our version of that for our demo is taking a look at our model site that we're using here and copying the exact sequence of sections that it uses. So as we see here, from the header, it goes to a slideshow section, to a featured collection section, an image with text section. We have this section of featured promos. We have these 2 featured products on the homepage. We have a featured video, the gallery, the newsletter sign up, the blog, the logo list. We have an image with text overlay, and then the footer. So as we go through and add our sections, we're going to be following that sequence of sections to make it easy to set up our homepage. And I suggest you do the same type of things. Make a model of what you want your homepage to look like, and then add those sections in that sequence. So we saw that our first section is a slideshow section, so let's go ahead and add it. And here's the default appearance of the slideshow on the right. And on the left, we have our settings. So starting with some settings and some image size suggestions here. These settings apply to all of the slides. We have a text animation setting. We can slide or fade between the slides, and we can choose the speed that animation occurs. The content section here is where we add the slides themselves, and they're added as content blocks. And like the other content blocks within the interface, you can click and drag to reorder them, and then click on them to expand them. So here is my first slide, and I'm going to configure it to look just like the first slide of the demo. I've got my first slideshow image here. And then I've got some captions for the pre-heading and the heading text here. Looking good. We've got an area for a subheading as well. There's no subheading on this slide, but we do have a button, so I'll add this button label here as well. So just by adding that text, I've added that button. Now let's take a look at these settings. So we can position the entire caption left, center, or right. And then the alignment of the caption itself can be left, center, or right. You can add a background to display around the text to have it juxtaposed against your image a little bit better, and then you can even have some transparency added to that block. As you saw, we added text to create that button, and then you can choose a link or enter a URL here. So if we click here, we are provided a list of links that come from our Shopify backend, or you can add a link there using a URL. We'll just have it go to our About page. And we have a second button there as well. So we can highlight the first button, which looks like that. And this is what a second button would look like. And then it would link in the same way. So our demo has another slide. I'm going to configure it here behind the scenes to follow along with that model, and I'll be right back. So as you see, I have used those exact same settings to create this second slide, which is a duplicate of the second slide from our model. And now we have those two slides configured for our slideshow. The next section of our homepage is a featured collection, which is a listing of products. So we're going to add it. There's the default appearance there on the right. Let's go ahead and select a collection to see how the products appear. I've got this speakers collection I'd like to feature on the homepage. And there they are. I've got the ability of modifying the heading or the title of the collection. Now, technically, it is just the heading. The title of the collection is remaining the same. They're currently showing in a grid layout, which looks like this. But you can also go for the slider layout here, which looks like this. The number of products that appear here can be altered using the products per row setting, which also affects the grid layout. And then if you had an excessive number of products in this collection and you'd like to only show a few of them, you can limit it here to any of those values. To mimic our model, we're going to set this to slider, and we're going to have 5 products appear in the slider. Looking great. We're going to save that, and we'll move on to our next section here. So now on to configure the image with text section. So let's go ahead and select it here and add it. Here are our first few settings. You can do the number of images per row, 1 or 2. Change the alignment of the text, left, center, or right. And then whether this image, the first of the list, will appear on the left or the right. Then each one of these areas is a content block. So we'll take a look at this first content block here to see what our settings are. We've got an image setting. So let's go ahead and upload an image here. And I have this one set aside. And then I've got a heading and some text to add. So as you see here, I've selected that image. I've added a heading. This heading has a a break tag in it to render text onto the next line. And then we have this text box here with the same behavior as the other text boxes we've looked at. By adding a button label, we've added this button here, and it links to the speakers collection. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to jump down to this other block, and I'm going to remove it. And then again, swap the position of that image so that it mimics our model. There we've got that beautiful section now added with that image and text. The next section we get to play with here is the section of featured promotions. So here we have 3 featured promotions appearing by default as they have been added as content blocks. Above that, we have the settings that apply to these featured promos. They can appear 2, 3, or 4 per row. We're going to end up with just the 2 featured promos, so I'm going to set that to 2. The grid of these promos can be constrained to the column framework here, as you see, or it can stretch the full width of the layout. Then the animation of the promos, watch carefully here as I change between them. They can fade in, fade up, or fade down, as you see. Then whether we wanted to make these into circular promotions, great feature there, or they could have rounded edges, or they could be squares. We're going to leave ours as squares. The title that appears on top can be enabled and disabled. When disabled from appearing on the image, it will appear below the image, as you see. So we're just going to be configuring these 2 featured promos. So let's go to this last one here and remove it. I'm going to jump into this first feature and see what settings we have. So very similar to some of our other sections, we can upload an image. I've got some featured promotion images set aside here. Then we can select the destination for this link, which would make a lot of sense to go to this particular product. There it is. The text that appears as we hover over the feature can be edited here with the same behavior as the other text boxes. And you can also add a button that will appear on hover. The button will link to the same place as the rest of the featured link. All right, behind the scenes here, I'm going to configure this other block, and I'm going to use an image that is the same size as the image on the left, which will alleviate this gap here at the bottom of this feature. So we'll be right back. And there we have it. Using those exact same settings, I've configured this second featured promo here, and they're looking just like they do in the model. So you can create featured promos just like that. You can line them up. You can actually add as many as you'd like here, and then try to make sure that they're divisible by the promos per row setting here so that you can avoid any blank spaces on your homepage. The next section to add is a section of featured products, a way of showing products directly on the homepage. So here we've added the section. The content blocks are the products themselves. So before we go through these settings, let's select our products. So I'm going to select a couple of our demo products here. There's one. And here's a second. So as you see, it's like a piece of the product page is appearing right here on the home page. We've got a setting to stagger the layout of these featured products. Then we've got 3 settings here that are just like some settings on the product page. So the arrows for the image gallery, the hover to zoom feature, and then the automatic sliding of the gallery images. Then you have the gallery transition options of slide and fade here. If you'd like, you can show the vendor of the product, which appears right here above the title. And then on the home page, you have the option of removing the product description. If you would like to just keep it succinct, you can choose whether you'd like the description to appear above or below the product form, which is the area that holds your options and variants, your quantity selector, and your add to cart button. For these swatches, you're seeing here that these colors aren't appearing. That's because these color names are not normal color names. So In this situation, we would want to use some custom swatch images. You can check out the product page video on details on how to implement your own custom swatch images. That has been done on the demo, so I'll show you what that looks like here. So here we've got these custom swatch images that have been implemented. Our next section to add to the homepage is a featured video. Now this video is going to autoplay as soon as I go to preview what this section looks like. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is disable the autoplaying of the video so that we can look at the rest of the sections without the video distracting us. So here I go. So with autoplay disabled, let's take a look at what settings we have here. You can enable a video from YouTube, Vimeo, or from HTML5. These are some aspect ratio options for the video. The autoplay feature that I was just demonstrating there. Now that feature applies to desktops and laptops, but it doesn't apply to touchscreen devices or mobile devices. You don't want an autoplaying video occurring whenever somebody's doing online shopping on a mobile device, as it's usually distracting, it eats up their data plan, all kinds of negative effects to having an auto-playing video on mobile. So we've kept that feature off of mobile and just kept it on the desktop version. Auto loop will restart the video once it reaches the end of the video. This darken video will apply sort of a filter, a bit of a darkening filter on top of the video as it plays. This is where you enter the URL of your Vimeo or YouTube video, if you're using either of those two sources. If you're using an HTML5 video, you would enter the URL of where your video is hosted here. You can host small videos on Shopify by going to Settings, Files, where you can upload smaller files. If you have an OGV file URL for your HTML5 video, you can enter it here. This content area here is for this banner image that will appear before the video is triggered. So it's here that you can upload an image. I'm going to select one of the banner images that I have here. Then, similar to the slideshow and the image with text overlay sections, you can add a pre-heading, heading, and subheading text caption here. So I've got some text to add. And that's how it appears, and we have the very same alignment and positioning options that we have for the slideshow. As well, we can have that solid background appear. Very similar settings there. So we won't go over these settings again. I will just kind of have this configured to look similar to the demo, but the banner image that appears above the video has the same settings as any slide or any image with text overlay section. And then, of course, as you click it, that will trigger the video to play. The next section we get to add is the gallery section, one of my favorites here. Here's the default appearance of it. And the content blocks, as we see, are the images themselves. So before we go in and configure any of these other settings, I'm going to add a bunch of images here so that we can see the effect that it has on the actual images as opposed to these placeholders. So behind the scenes, I'm going to go upload image and then add a bunch of our favorite gallery images here. And I'll be right back. So here we have our favorite images added to this image gallery. Now these images are not consistent in their sizes and dimensions, so they're not all appearing properly in this classic gallery style. So if you had gallery images that were all square or all the same dimensions, then go ahead and use this classic style. But let's see what other settings we can use to make the images we've selected work with the layout here. So first, let's get rid of this title just to keep this section nice and lean. Let's see what these other gallery styles are. So we've got classic. Here we've got masonry, where we see the number of images per row has been maintained, but the idea of having distinct rows is in a sense broken, allowing the images to appear directly below their predecessor, creating that masonry style layout. The bottom of any masonry style layout will be a little bit off unless you have these perfectly sized images. So alternatively, you could use this horizontal gallery style. As we see, the images are all the same height, and we fit as many images as we can within the layout until we start a new row of images. And I think that looks great, especially whenever we enable the full width version of it. And as it's responsive, when we resize the window, the number of images in each row changes. At a certain viewport width, that last gallery image will occupy the full width of the layout, as you see here. So in this case, it's important to make sure you've got more of a horizontal image appearing in the last position of your gallery. Otherwise, an image like this one, this vertical image, would end up taking a great deal of vertical space if it was appearing alone and occupying the full width of the layout. So just a pro tip for you. Finally, we have that images per row setting. And it applies to the classic or masonry style. Of course, try to keep it to a value that can divide the number of images that you have to avoid any blank spaces. The next section that we have to configure here is another image with text section, and I'm going to configure it exactly like I configured the first one behind the scenes here, and I'll be right back. And there we have it. Using those same settings that we used for the first image with text section, we've configured another section just like it, and we've even bolded some text here in this editor. Our next section that we get to add is the newsletter sign up. So here it is. We've got some options. We can change the heading. We've got this subheading text here that you can change to your own caption. If you would like to display a first and last name field to capture the first and last name of your interested party, then go ahead and enable those fields. All of this can be enabled left, right, or center. We're going to keep it centered. And then finally, to add some color, we can put a background image behind this whole section here. There, I've got a newsletter footer background image, which looks something like that. Let's save that section. Of course, any of the email addresses that you capture here will be added to your customers panel on your Shopify admin panel, unless you have it synchronized with MailChimp as well. In that case, it will synchronize also with MailChimp. Following the newsletter section, we have the blog posts. So here we can add a section of blog posts where we select from a blog first. And here are the images associated with each of these blogs. And the text that appears is the excerpt of the blog post. So in case you don't remember from the beginning of the video, here we are in my blog posts. And each of these blog posts has an excerpt here. So if you don't have an excerpt on your blog post, there'll be an add an excerpt link that you will click to expand this, and you add the text in here that you would like to display on the homepage with the blog section. You can change the heading here to whatever we would like. The number of blog posts can be changed. I know there's only 3 in this blog, so we'll keep it at 3. These posts have some tags, so this is what they look like when they're enabled. The author can be enabled as well, and the date. On the home page, again, to keep it lean, let's remove most of these features. Even this read more link can be removed, as many shoppers know that just clicking on the title of the blog post will bring them to the actual article. So it's one of my favorite things to do to keep this section nice and lean, is remove all of the features that you don't need. Go ahead and save that. Our next section is a logo list. So we'll go ahead down here to add section, add a logo list. It's a pretty straightforward feature here. We've got a heading, which we're going to remove. And we've got these content blocks, which are image links. So we add an image and we say the destination of that image. So I'm going to go ahead and add the logos of a few of the publications that we're using here in our model. And I'll be right back in a second to show you the finished result. So there we have it, another configured section where we've added these 5 logos to the logo list. And to remember, any of these content blocks can just be clicked and dragged to reorder them around here, like any of the other content blocks or sections in the sections interface. So we'll save that and move on to our final section of our model, which is a image with text overlay section. So first, let's add the image that we'll use as the banner. I've got this image set aside for this purpose exactly. Looking great. Got our caption added there. And as you see, these settings are just like the slideshow and video banner settings. The buttons, the alignment settings, all exactly the same. This is just one simple banner with a simple caption, so we are going to leave the rest of this blank, but as you see, exactly like the slideshow and exactly like the video banner. So we'll go ahead and save that. And taking a look at all of these changes, we have a home page that looks just like the new Soul demo for the Turbo 2 theme. Now, as I promised, I'm going to show you the few sections that are not included in the demo, but are included with the theme and so are options for you when you're configuring your own homepage. Let's take a look at which sections we have not investigated. We haven't taken a look at this collection list. So a collection list is a sequence of links that lead to collections as opposed to a sequence of links that lead to products. So this is where you would select the collection. And by default, it will pull the featured image of that collection into this location. And that's what you're seeing here. But you can override that by uploading your own image into this setting. So let's just try that image and see what it looks like. So as you see, you can override the default image of that collection with that setting. Again, they can be reordered just like that. And you have the option of the number of collections appearing per row, and then the ability to change or remove that title. Obviously, you would want to add more collections to this if you're using a 5 collections per row setting. That's the collection list. Let's take a look at another section that we have yet to investigate here. We've already looked at all of these image sections. We haven't taken a look at the social feeds. This is what they look like, but as far as their settings. So you've got the ability of adding Twitter and or Instagram. This is where you would enter your Twitter username. You can change the heading. If you've got a dark background here, you want to use the dark Twitter theme so that the text is visible against the dark background. And then you have the ability of changing the number of tweets that appear here. The Instagram feed is easy enough to configure. You do need an Instagram token. And to generate one, you can use this link, which will bring you to our Instagram token generator. And you can generate your access token, copy it from the generator, and then paste it into your setting here to have your Instagram feed appear. You can change the number of images that appear right here. We have these text sections that we have yet to take a look at. We've got this page section, and here you can add a page that you have added to the Shopify platform. I've got this About Us page. Let's see what it looks like. So you could have any page content appear here on the home page. Now this page has been created using a bit of clever HTML and using our column classes. You can find info about that in the support center. This section of rich text and image is similar to the page section, but all of the editing is done right here in the settings. So you can upload an image, and that image will appear above the text, as we see here. And then you have fields for your heading and your text, and again, this text box can be edited the same as the other text boxes we have looked at. This is large text, whereas this is regular size here, and it can be aligned to the left. If you'd like, you can also add a link button, and this is what it looks like. It can go to a URL or any of the links in your prepared list of links from the Shopify platform. Finally, we have the testimonials section here, which is a fairly flexible section. The content blocks are the testimonials themselves. So as you see, we can upload an image, which will work as the background of the testimonial. Or you can omit the image to have it appear against a background, just a colored background. The background image can be darkened to have the testimonial text pop out a little bit more against it. Then you have fields for the title of the testimonial text itself, then the customer's name. If they have a URL of their own store, there's the name appearing there. Then you can add their store here, and it will appear just below their name. And if you'd like, you can even have it link to that URL. The text can be positioned to the left, center, or right, just like on the other banner images, and then the alignment of the text itself can be left, center, or right. So these appear in a slide format the way that they're set up now. These 1, 2, 3 testimonials, again, they can be reordered, and you can add as many as you'd like using this Add Image button here. Then once your testimonials are set up like that, you can decide whether you'd like them to fade in, fade up, or fade down as far as the text coming into position. Then the speed here is an independent speed setting from the other slideshow speed setting. So it's like the slideshow, but the way that the text caption appears is a little bit different, and it's designed specifically for customer testimonials. So those are the sections that we don't have included in this sole demo, but are included with the theme. So add them to your sequence of sections here, and like the content blocks within the sections, any of the sections can be clicked and dragged and reordered. You get a preview of where that section will appear in the preview window. So we now have a very flexible theme using a very flexible interface of settings, finally combined in Turbo 2.0. If you hit any snags or if you had any questions, head on over to support.outofthesandbox.com, where you can look for your question and find a plethora of resources to help you out. My name is Sean Campbell. Thank you for joining me for this video guide. Take care.